Jonathan, the Education Department of Mandai Wildlife Group, and I will be your moderator for today's session. So on behalf of Mandai Wildlife Group, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you all to today's webinar, Conservation Champions Saving Tigers, where we have the honor of hearing from experts in the field of tiger care and conservation. We will get to hear exclusive insights and listen to them share their experience working with tigers under human care as well as in the field within their natural habitats. For today's program, we will start off with a quick introduction. This includes a short interactive quiz just to warm everyone up before we hear from our speakers. And next, we will hear from a keeper where he will share insights into our animal care practices for our tigers and also about how the Mandai organization contributes to tiger conservation. After which, we will hear from our special guest speaker from the Malaysian Conservation Alliance for Tigers, also known as MyCat. And we will hear from her what she and her organization does Malayan tigers in the wild, as well as what you can do to help. And lastly, we will allocate some time to answer some of your burning questions that you have submitted prior to this webinar, as well as some questions that you may have asked during this session. Next slide, please. Okay, so let me introduce our speakers for today. Firstly, we will have Mr. Anand Kumar from Mandai Wildlife Reserves, who is the Assistant Curator of Carnivores. He will be presenting on the first portion of the webinar, which is about caring for tigers in Singapore Zoo. And next, we have our special guest presenter, Dr. Kai Kawanishi, General Manager and Head of Conservation for the Malaysian Conservation Alliance for Tigers. She will be presenting about conservation efforts that she and her organization, MyCat, does in the rainforest of Malaysia. Okay, so now without further ado, I'd like to hand my time over to Mr. Anand Kumar to share his experience working with tigers. So it's pleasure to have Anand here.
Good evening, everyone. Hi. Just to before we start, just like to share a little bit about myself. I joined Night Safari back in 2002. Since young, I had passion and great interest in zoology. I started as a junior keeper, and the first animal I worked with was coincidentally the tiger. When I learned that I was going to work with tigers, I was a little worried because the reason was that how am I going to recognize each tiger? Because at that time, we had 11 of them. And over the years, I realized that each animal has their own unique looks and appearance. And it's just like, and also personalities, just like us humans. So that is one of the things that I learned in, and still learning in my career, that all animals aren't the same. So now let's go on to the talk. Next slide. Okay, let me give a brief introduction to what tigers are. They are species of felid made up of 9 subspecies, with only 6 still present today with us. They're the largest living cat in the world, with the honor going to the Siberian or the Amur tiger. In the wild, they can be found within the regions of Russia, down to Central Asia, and of course, down to Southeast Asia. Next slide. Okay, so I'm sure many of you are aware that tigers are fierce apex predators, meaning they are at the top of the food chain in their own ecosystem. For them to be successful predators, they have many adaptations that allow them to be able to hunt other large prey animals, sometimes 3 to 4 times their size. And some of these adaptations include striped camouflage. This helps them to blend in with the surrounding vegetation. The stripes help to break up the cat's shape, making it harder for to be spotted by their prey. The second is they possess large and sharp claws and teeth that actually helps them to grip onto their prey. And one of it is this, for us it's a thumb, but if you have cats at home, this dew claw, it's very useful for them to actually grip, and once they grab hold of the prey, they're actually able to kind of bring it down. And and with this, they also have great strength and agility. So this can be seen in the ability to leap up to 10 meters and reach speeds of 60 kilometers per hour. They also have the strongest bite force of all cats, with a bone-crushing bite force that is twice that of a lion's. They're also known to have a keen sense of smell and hearing, and as mentioned in the quiz, they have excellent night vision, being able to see 6 times better than a human. And tigers are also highly mobile, and they are known to be efficient swimmers and climbers. Next slide. Okay, so now let me share with you about our tigers within the Mandai Wildlife Parks. At Mandai, we display our tigers within 2 of our parks, at the tiger exhibit at the Singapore Zoo and the Malayan tiger exhibit at the Night Safari. Within our collection, we have 2 Bengal tigers and 6 Malayan tigers, 2 of which are our recent births, Sali and Arha, that were born in December of 2020. We were really very happy to actually welcome these 2 new births, as they help to boost the already limited population of Malayan tigers under human care, and will be important for the species survival. So just a bit of info about the 2 boys. Sali means strong and firm, while Aha means calm and serene. Aha is on your left and Sali is on your right, the 2 pictures there. Okay. And you can see that in that main picture, they are in the exhibit with their mother, Intan. Now, tigers have a special way of communication. They shuff. So this means when they do that, it just means that it's their way of saying, how do you do? Or I'm in a friendly mood. So this is how it sounds. So when they do that, they actually kind of do a little tilt of the head up. And we used to have a tiger called Bayang, and he used to greet us every morning when we saw him without fail. And if you're lucky, you can actually see this behavior with our tigers. Next slide. So caring for our tigers. Here at Mandai, we take great pride in providing the best animal care possible for animals. And part of that is providing the best animal nutrition possible. So we provide a wide range of feeds. This includes chicken, beef, veal, kangaroo, horse, and goat. We also provide special supplements meant for carnivores that are enriched with vitamins, minerals, as well as fish oil that is essential for healthy joints. They are fed specific diets specially formulated by our team of nutritionists to meet their nutritional needs of each tiger, depending on the life stages and health conditions. So a young tiger will need more different type of protein depending on the food, and then an older tiger will have different amounts or less red meat. So that different life stages, that's how we kind of look at it and feed them. Given that our tigers live a very long, good life, we do also provide specialized geriatric care for older tigers. This includes senior supplements, as well as making exhibits as comfortable for them as possible, like lowering the resting platforms so that they don't have to really jump to a really high point, because cats, we all know, they love to kind of climb, and they love high point. They like to go up, climb up somewhere and kind of like look at a wider landscape kind of view. Now, since we are talking about diet, just wanted to share this experience with a tiger that happened when I was a junior keeper. We used to have a tiger called Jabat. He was kind of a grouchy tiger. So there was this point where we had to move into a holding space to kind of go into access his living space. So I was just standing there waiting for him to be out to let him back out into his space, and he was just sitting there being his grouchy self and looking straight ahead, when just out of the blue, he just farted. I was shocked. That was probably my first time hearing an animal, have, flatulence. Besides my pet dog, he just kept looking straight. And basically why is because tigers eat a lot of meat, and sometimes there's undigested meat, and this is protein is not easily digested. So there's a lot of things going on in the stomach and bacteria, and because of that, they produce gas. So it's a natural thing to happen. But still, at that point in time, for me to see the king of the jungle farting was kind of it was something new for me. Okay, so we have a poll. So the question is, how often do our tigers eat? So we'll give some time for this poll. Oh wait, this is the there you go. Okay. All right. So, all right. Yeah. So, how often do our tigers eat? So, it's 3 times a week. All right. Okay. Now we shall go on with our slides. Okay. So, caring for the tigers, again, there's another important aspect, which is enrichment. So this is actually beneficial for their welfare. So through enrichment, we encourage our tigers' natural behaviors such as leaping and climbing. This allows them to exercise their bodies and mind, keeping them in tip-top shape physically and mentally. We provide several different forms of enrichment devices that are of sensory and cognitive in nature. Some of this enrichment also involves food hidden within the enrichment devices. Okay, next we are going to play you a short clip of one of our tigers, Sulong, interacting with an enrichment device in the exhibit at Singapore Zoo. The device is an old repurposed wooden pallet that is strung up high on a branch with pieces of meat hidden within. You'll be able to observe the tiger smell the food within the device while trying to figure out how to reach it. At the same time, he will exercise his powerful muscles and utilize his claws to reach for the device. And another aspect of important aspect of animal care is providing good health care for animals. But carrying out these medical procedures on dangerous animals such as tigers can prove to be a difficult and stressful task at times. So we use positive reinforcement to condition our tigers to present certain body parts or move to a location voluntarily to make the medical procedures easier. For example, our tigers are conditioned to present their tail for keepers to draw blood for medical tests. So during this procedure, they get lots of small treats, so they do not mind the procedure. So if you look at the picture, right, where the head is, there's actually a keeper who's actually feeding the small treats, while another keeper is actually, you can see in the picture, they're actually holding onto the tail. So in this way, we work together with the tigers without the need for a sedation, making such procedures less stressful for both the animal and the keepers, and of course the vets, while ensuring the safety of all. Other examples of this include weight taking and injections. So, and that is how we at Mandai provide the best animal care possible for our tigers. Now, what about the tigers in the wild and how are they faring? Next slide. So currently, wild tiger populations are in trouble, with all 6 existing tiger subspecies being threatened with extinction. So far, 3 other subspecies have already been declared extinct in the past century, which are the Caspian tiger, the Bali tiger, and the Javanese tiger. It was thought that there were more than 100,000 tigers roaming the planet a century ago. However, that number has greatly dwindled to fewer than 3,500 individuals in the wild. Now, one of the most endangered subspecies, the Malayan tiger, is estimated to have less than 200 individuals in the wild, therefore being classified as critically endangered. Now, also touching on that, the South China tiger or the Amoy tiger has not been seen in the wild in the last 3 decades. Now, this species is only found in certain breeding centers in China that are specially built to actually try to save this subspecies from extinction. So how has it come to this? Next slide. So monumental threat to tigers is poaching and hunting of these cats. Poaching is derived from the demand for their body parts, which are mostly used in medicines that have no apparent scientific benefits. The demand is mostly spurred by superstitious beliefs and traditions. They are also hunted for their body parts to be used as trophies. They're hunted not only with guns, but with snares made of steel wire. So now these snares are indiscriminate, meaning not only tigers are caught by snares, but other wildlife as well. I'm going to show you now a snare. So I hope you can see it. So that's the snare. It's made of steel wire. So usually they either lay it out on the ground where the poachers know, they are good trackers. They know where the animals walk and the animal trails. So they lay it out like that, and then it's just slightly above the ground. And as the animal comes in, as he moves his paw in, and then as he moves, it just tightens like that. So once it's caught, the animal keeps struggling and it just gets tighter and tighter. Sometimes they can actually tear off the snare from wherever it is attached, and they can actually move on. But eventually this snare gets infected, the wound around the paw gets infected, and then eventually they die a very painful death. Next slide. So another main threat to tigers is habitat loss and fragmentation. It is estimated they have lost 95% of the historical range in the past century to human activities like urbanization, agriculture, and logging. With humans encroaching more into tiger habitats, the occurrence of conflict between humans and tigers increases. For example, tigers prey on livestock, resulting in farmers needing to defend their animals, and sometimes it leads to casualties on both sides. Deforestation also leads to tiger habitats being fragmented, causing subpopulations of tigers to be separated. And this makes it harder for tigers to find mates, and it prevents the flow of genes between subpopulations, leading to inbreeding and lower population health. But what will happen if there are no more tigers in the wild? Why is it so important that we protect them? Next slide. So tigers are a keystone species. They have a very crucial role in the ecosystems that they live in. They help keep the ecosystems balanced by controlling prey animals like herbivores. By controlling these herbivore populations, they actually prevent them from overgrazing the forest and eating too many plants. Because the forest and its plants affect the availability of water in the area, the tigers actually influence on the abundance of plants has an indirect effect on water quality and water supply in river systems and streams, which can also affect humans in the area. Think of it like having a domino effect. So, if you remove the tigers, it just starts to affect everything. Eventually, it leads back to us. So it eventually affects us as well. Okay, so now we have a poll. How do you feel about the situation of tigers in the wild? And so there's a lot of you are feeling very sad. Okay. Right. Next slide. Okay, so we do feel sad and angry, but we do not feel hopeless about the situation because tigers under our care play an important role in conservation. We at Mandai have housed Malayan tigers since 1994 and have bred more than 20 tigers as part of our managed species plan. This plan involves working with like-minded zoos around the world to preserve the genetic diversity of the tiger population under human care. This is essential because genetic diversity ensures that individuals under human care are healthy and have a stronger chance of survival. Most importantly, our tigers also act as conservation ambassadors that help raise awareness and educate the general public on the plight of tigers. So now, what about the tigers in the wild? Next slide. So we also contribute to tiger conservation in their natural habitats. Mandai Wildlife Group is dedicated to caring for the planet and protecting biodiversity. The group provides funding and in-kind support to over 40 conservation projects in Singapore and Southeast Asia through Mandai Nature. Now, Mandai Nature aims to advance efforts for nature conservation in Asia with a focus on protecting threatened species from extinction, protecting and restoring ecosystems, driving nature-based solutions to mitigate climate change, and creating benefits for local communities. It was established in December 2020 by Temasek and Mandai Park Holdings, the parent entity of Mandai Wildlife Group. One conservation group that Mandai Nature supports is the Malaysian Conservation Alliance for Tigers, in short called MICAT, which protects Malayan tigers in Malaysia. Next slide. So here are some ways we support and work with our conservation partner, MICAT. We have partnered with MICAT over the past 7 years. We are pleased to provide funds for their conservation efforts, as well as providing volunteers for their anti-poaching walks. More of this will be shared in detail by Dr. Kai later. We also have staff such as myself that have also participated in Realm of the Tiger program that is actually catered to zoo professionals, during which we were involved in extended anti-poaching walks lasting about 5 days. So just to talk about that, Realm of the Tiger program. So there was there was a lot of memorable experience during that 5 days. There was interaction with the locals and also going to different parts of the place. And one of it was while we were on the way up to Gua Gajah, it's a limestone cave, we encountered a wild animal. Likely was a wild boar, but I was secretly hoping it was a sun bear. The three of us, there was 3 of us. We were walking in a single column, and about 20 to 30 meters ahead, this animal gave a really loud roar or bark and then kind of ran away from us. We didn't really see the animal. We could see the vegetation move as it ran. The 3 of us were totally unprepared. We were just walking with some backpacks and holding long sticks, walking sticks in our hand. And we just froze for a few seconds, and then we kind of slowly backed off, expecting something to charge at us. But we eventually went on with our walk only after knowing it was safe to go on. Eventually, we kind of laughed about it, but for sure, all 3 of us were kind of shaken for that 3 or 5 seconds. But even then, it was really, it was like a kind of an exciting walk. And this kind of significant for me as a zoo professional, because working with tigers and seeing one in the wild or walking in the natural habitat are 2 different things. There's this excitement to the whole walk. I was walking in tiger territory. A tiger could have walked the same path as us a few days ago, or maybe a few hours ahead. You know, I work with a species with barriers, and here I am walking in their territory with nothing but a hiking pole. And that 5-day walk was truly something that I will never forget. And I have, as you can see in the pictures above, there's a claw mark on one of the tree there. That's we were discussing in that part of the forest whether is it a sun bear, and most we agree it might be a sun bear. And there's there's lots of signs of animals, different signs of animals, but at the most you usually don't see them, but you hear them. And we had quite a lot of fun doing the MyCat, and as you can see in the picture, we even stood on a raft in the middle of that river there. And yeah, so it was really a memorable experience doing the MyCat. And if you ever have a chance, please go for it. Next slide. So today we are very fortunate to have Dr. Kai Kawanishi from MyCat to share more with us about the good conservation work that their organization carries out and how we can contribute to in situ conservation efforts for the Malayan tiger. So I will now pass my time over to her. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand. I hope you all can see my slide. Anand, you did a very good job giving everyone Tiger Conservation 101. I wonder who taught you. That was excellent. That was excellent. Okay, I'm gonna start my talk. Tigers are not going to go extinct for a long time, and I'm not an optimist. Because there are estimated 15 to 20,000 tigers in captivity. I will tell you in my talk what tiger conservation is all about. It's hardly about tigers. I've been working in Malaysia in tiger conservation for 24 years. And unlike Anand, who sees his tigers every day, I have never seen tigers in the wild. Okay, these are Singaporeans who volunteered in 2019 to protect tigers and planted trees for tiger forest. So for my title page, instead of using an image of a tiger, I decided to use this one. Conservation of tigers in the wild is about people, what we humans do to their forest and what we humans do for tigers. Have you experienced the beauty of our planet? Really experienced the richness and wonder of the planet? I have in countless occasions. Even if Elon Musk pays me $1 million, I would not move to the Mars. I love this planet for all her beauties in simplicity and complexity. I love it the most when it's untamed and untainted by humans. The wilder, the better. But as you know, Amazon is burning and Antarctica is melting. In the past century alone, we humans have successfully wiped out 97% of the tiger habitat. There are a few places on the Earth's surface that are unaffected by humans, and that's just surface. We are affecting the biosphere. That's more than just the surface. Tigers, to me, is an ultimate expression of wild nature. Everything I love about nature and my grief for her loss is embodied in tigers. Animals that could have killed me on any of the hundreds of nights that I bathed in their rivers and slept in their forest, but they never did. Instead, their survival is hinged on action or inaction of humans. Tiger is the most endangered of big cat species, and the Malayan tiger, found only on the Malay Peninsula, is the most critically endangered tiger subspecies on the brink of extinction. As a conservation biologist, I have been documenting the extinction process of this subspecies for what it feels like a lifetime, but just actually a quarter of a century. Micah made this graph in 2018, and we haven't updated it, but basically you can just extend this line to current year and then extend this trajectory. It continued. In 2015, Malayan tiger was classified as critically endangered on the IUCN Red List threatened species. This means that there was more than 50% chance of extinction within 25 years. And that time we thought there were about 300 animals left in the wild, and that was 7 years ago. The current official estimate is less than 150. That means it could be any number between 0 and 149 tigers. So my guess is about 100 tigers plus minus 50. So the probability of extinction is increasing. I'll tell you about the tiger landscape. One of the challenges in protecting tigers from poachers in Malaysia is that they're not all in one place, but distributed over a large forest that is what is called Central Forest Vine. When we made this map in 2006 towards drafting of the National Tiger Conservation Action Plan, we, meaning the tiger conservation NGOs and Wildlife Department, we identified the 3 priority areas, Belum Temanggur, Taman Negara, and the Romping Forest Complex, to be connected by forest reserves and corridors. Altogether, it forms Central Forest Vine. Now, this map is a little outdated. Some of the forests no longer have tigers, like this fragmenting one here, this northern forest here, these tigers are all gone. Here, YOT denotes year of the tiger. 2022, this year of the tiger is my 3rd year of the tiger working in Malaysia. The first was exactly 24 years ago in 1998. And the year I began my PhD research on tiger ecology in Taman Negara. With wildlife rangers and Aboriginal people, I was in the forest for 3 years. And we found out that Taman Negara had about 75 adult tigers, and it was considered the largest known population in Southeast Asia. In my 2nd year of the tiger in 2010, I was studying the tiger population across the landscape here, National Park. This is Sungayu Ecological Corridor that connect two of the largest taiga landscape, the final linkage between main range and Greater Taman Negara. This is zoomed in map here. This is the main range forest reserve, and it's Taman Negara National Park here. It's connected by Sungayu Corridor, this line here, split by Federal Road Highway. And this is a sliver of buffer zone to Taman Negara that is also a forest reserve. And the threats to tigers' movement back and forth is this state land forest that is not protected. So I was looking at the animal movement, tigers and tiger prey movement back and forth. And also I resampled the tiger population in Western Taman Negara and found that the population was plummeted. And from the state land forest here, unprotected state land forest, many wildlife species were gone and poaching was the suspected cause. Now, my first 3-year research in Taman Negara, it was only in the protected area, and I have never encountered snare during the 3 years. The second 3-year research here across the landscape, I saw many animals in snare. I saw more animals in snare than live animals. I witnessed devastated impacts of sustainable forestry, highway development, expanding oil palm plantation, all sort of illegal activities ranging from poaching, fish bombing, mining to land clearing. And that really woke me up. This is the reality for wildlife outside National Park. My research team, once again made up of a wildlife ranger and Aborigines, were looking for tiger signs, but instead we were finding hundreds of snares. And those 3 years really broke me. Realizing that conservation resources are limited and we can't just rely on the government to protect what we care about, MyCat initiated Citizen Action for Tiger program called Catwalk in 2010. Catwalk empowers people like you who want to help but don't know how in protecting tigers and their habitat. It's an anti-poaching and anti-deforestation guided surveillance walks conducted by volunteers at poaching hotspots. Volunteers are guided by MyCat staff or certified volunteer leaders with assistance of local Aborigines. In Malaysia, we call them Orang Asli. Since then, more than 2,000 people from 38 countries patrol the tiger habitat and deactivated almost 300 snares so far. What you see here is a monthly effort in Mam Day patrol from 2011 to 2021 December. In blue, effort is in blue. And the red line shows the threat index, number of snares found. Here you can see 3 months during the COVID, first COVID from March to June, we couldn't do anything because everybody was locked into the house. So we did not have any catwalk. And after that, we were not able to do a catwalk by volunteers, but Aboriginal people were working on your behalf. We collected donations and we were supported by donors to continue our protection. Let me explain what catwalk is like. Typical catwalk is 2-night, 3-day trip. And the itinerary is like this. Day 1 is a travel day. And on day 2 and morning of the day 3, you go on catwalk. We have 3 types of catwalk. Catwalk basic and catwalk plus. And the final one is a virtual catwalk. And virtual catwalk is essentially people make donation to MyCat and we pay Aborigines to walk and protect the forest on your behalf. And that's what we have been doing during the COVID movement control order time that the volunteers cannot come from, I mean, domestically and internationally. So itinerary.
Like the bus stop there.
Yeah, okay. Okay, can you hear me okay? Okay, so Catwalk Plus has an additional conservation value for the added price. And for example, day 2, you might check camera traps and or assist in habitat restoration. Day 2 evening, you might see what's captured on the memory card that you retrieved from the camera that day. And nighttime, if you're not tired and if it doesn't affect the day 3 catwalk, you may go on night drive or night walk in search of wildlife. For volunteers from Singapore Wildcat Action Group, our sister organization, SWAG, help you prepare for your trip. So here you can see Catwalk alumni is giving a briefing before the trip. And there, the university students from Singapore at the airport, about to come to Malaysia. What else is expected on Catwalk besides jungle trekking? Crossing rivers, following footprints of elephants, poking poo on some animals, marbling the tall forest, picnicking by a river. You may also choose to swim during the break. If you are over 18-year-old, healthy and reasonably fit, anyone can join Catwalk. Now that doesn't seem like an anti-poaching patrol, but your presence alone deter poaching. And if you find snare or a trap, your trip leader will show you how to deactivate it, and then you will report to the Wildlife Crime Hotline for authorities' action. You may be rewarded by a sky full of stars. Besides protection of wildlife, what MICAT does by engaging members of public is habitat restoration. The Sungayu looked like this before because the new highway to construct the new highway, forest has to be cleared. So here, Singapore volunteers and also our restoration project leader, Alex, is restoring forest. And forest is back. In collaboration with Pahang Forestry, local communities and volunteers, we have planted 18,000 trees to restore a badly damaged forest in the corridor. And the survivalship of those trees planted by MICAT is over 75%. This is very high because after planting, we monitor their growth and take care of them. We don't just plant. So forest is returning, and this project and community ranger project give local Aboriginal men and women a source of income based on non-extractive conservation activities. So the significance is not only about money, the significance is not only about money, but together we are planting seeds of hope in their lives too. There's quite a hype these days on ecosystem restoration, green this and green that, and sustainability became a key word to politically correctness or commercially acceptable products. But here we're talking about restoring nature and not a building or painting. It takes time to mend decades of damage and neglect, but MICAT proves that with persistent active protection and restoration, endangered wildlife and forests can bounce back. Only when we can commit to continuous action over a decade, ecosystem restoration is possible. Do you know this saying of 100 people who think about doing something, only 10 will actually do it? Are you the 10? Among those 10 doers, only one will persist doing it over and over through thick and thin, rain or shine, and that's us, MICAT. Among the many donors we have had over the years, it is only a handful that supported us year after year. For that, we are grateful to Mandai Nature. And we also want to give due credit to our veteran catwalk leaders, Muna, Helen, Lucas. Are you hearing me? Thank you. These wild things, untamed beauty and the goodness of nature, they make me feel so privileged to be living on this planet today. Do you feel pointless to fight a losing battle? Because people say, what's the point? We are gonna lose tigers anyway. What's the point? We are losing forest. Well, What's the point of living as a human today if we just witness the destruction and do nothing in despair? What good are we as the most evolved mammal? If we don't stand up and fight for what we care about, some other humans will take it and destroy it in the name of progress. So what will it be for you? What can you do? As a starter, spread the words. Speak up and then fight back. Don't patronize shops that sell products made of wildlife. Worse yet, illegal wildlife products. If you see potential crimes against wildlife or forest, report to the authorities. NParks in Singapore, Perhititan or MyCat Wildlife Crime Hotline in Peninsula Malaysia. We're not authority, but relay the information to relevant authorities. You want to help Malayan tigers directly, then join Catwalk. That's the best. We've just received the green light from the authority to start Catwalk for domestic volunteers post-COVID movement control order. I hope we can open it to Singaporeans later this year. There's so many Singaporean catwalkers sign up for 2020 catwalk and we had to cancel it. So please do come back. We don't know when the dates are, so please sign up by writing to us, cat@malayantiger.net, and we'll put you on a list. We'll let you know as soon as we know the available dates. You can't wait that long. And if you're in Singapore, you can also volunteer with Singapore Wildcat Action Group. SWAG, our sister organization, raises awareness for tigers and raise fund for tiger conservation. SWAG is here, swagcat.org. And if you're too busy for any of the above, but still want to do your part, then no choice but to donate to MyCat. We take money too, you know. You can scan this QR code, and it will take you to the Global Giving crowdfunding site. Money will be donated to Wildlife Society of Selangor, which is a charitable organization registered with Malaysian government. MyCat is the name of the program and it's not registered. But don't worry, the money comes to Wild will go to MyCat. I'm a general manager of MyCat and also honorary executive director of Wildlife Society of Selangor. In short, Wild. In this year of the tiger, MyCat hopes to see you in Tiger's Forest, or I may see you in Singapore later this year. On that note, happy Year of the Tiger 2022.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kai, for that wonderful presentation. It was very insightful and it was really great. Thank you so much. All right, and you can use the reactions button to show support for her for her presentation, and let's all thank her for that. And now we will move on to the Q&A portion to actually answer some of your burning questions. But before we do that, let's do one final poll. Okay, and we would like to pose the question, if you were to start helping tigers, what would you like to do? So let me just bring up that poll. Okay, and you should be able to see that poll on your screen. So what will you do to help? Will you support or donate to tiger conservation projects? Will you volunteer for catwalks? Or will you start by not patronizing any tiger products and their vendors, or spread awareness about the plight of tigers and their conservation? You can select more than one option. This is a multiple choice poll. So from here we can see, many are thinking of spreading awareness, but at the same time we have quite a few that are willing to go on to catwalks, volunteer for catwalks, and also those that would like to support and donate to tiger conservation projects, such as MyCat or Mandai Nature itself. All right, thank you for your responses. We still have some streaming in. Okay, we'll wait for last few. But we can see, okay, first in the lead is spreading awareness, which is one simple thing you can do. So thank you for your responses. And now we will move on to the Q&A portion of this webinar. And what we'll do is we will first answer some of the questions that you have submitted to us before this webinar during the registration, if you remember. And after which, we will answer some of the questions that you have posed during the session within the chat. So unfortunately, due to time constraint, we will not be able to take all of the questions, but we will try to do our best to answer as many of them, especially those where the answers are not covered within the presentation. Okay, so first off, we have a question from Ravinder Bahadur. What happens if a tiger tooth falls out? Do they grow back? And a second part would be also by another person named Neil Han, who asked, what is the average lifespan of tigers? So I will address this question to Anand, our tiger care expert.
Okay. Okay, so for the tiger tooth, right? It's a yes and no question, answer. So basically, when the tigers, when they are young, about between the age of like 1 to 1.5, they have actually baby teeth, milk tooth just like us. So that actually falls off as the adult tooth actually starts to erupt, and eventually what they have is the adult tooth. And if that falls out, that's it. They they don't regrow their teeth back. Jonathan, sorry, the second question would be?
All right, the second question is, what is the average lifespan of tigers?
Okay, so in captivity, the average lifespan can range from about 18 to 25 for both male and female tigers. And for in the wild, males typically range about maybe about 10 to 15, and females might go longer than that, maybe up to 15 and beyond to 18. There are reports of wild female tigers actually really old, but they still actually having cubs in the wild. For male tigers, usually they get displaced from the territory by other younger males that come into their territory, and they get pushed out. And usually sometimes also because of the kind of the lifestyle that they lead in the wild, they hunt prey that are pretty large themselves, and they also get wounds from their prey or from rival tigers. So they have all these problems, and eventually they either succumb, and they also have changes in their body. So eventually all this shortens their lifespan in the wild, but in under human care, that they don't have this issue. So that is that lifespan for animals under human care and in the wild.
All right, thank you for that, Anand, for that insight. Okay, next we have another question by Ili Suraya, and her question is, why do we have to save tigers? And this question is actually posed by her 6-year-old son, Noah. So I think I will address this question to Dr. Kai. Sorry.
Great question. I don't have a short answer, Noah. So when I come to Singapore, maybe I can speak to you. But in short, you don't have to save tigers. Perhaps your favorite animals is not tiger. Maybe you want to save some bear. I don't know what motivated Noah to ask the question, why tiger and not samba? Why tiger and not a giraffe? Yeah, so you don't have to, but like I said, and I hope I presented my talk in a way that you can understand, tiger conservation, saving tigers, is really not about tigers. Saving tigers in the wild, really about saving large forest connected, relatively free from human impacts, full of prey. And that's what my cat is trying to do. So And tiger is a wonderful ambassador of nature. By using tiger as a flagship and umbrella species, there are so many animals benefit from tiger conservation because tiger needs really, really large forest. Now one Malayan tiger needs 100 to 300 square kilometers of the forest, which means the island of Singapore can support, how many? It's about 700. So 2 to 7 tigers only, even if Singapore was fully forested. That means to have a viable, healthy population of tigers, we need large forest. So by using tiger as a flagship to protect and restore large forest, we save so many animals. And to me personally, that's a logic and reasoning behind tiger conservation. But to me personally, I just love the forests that have tigers. I learned so much about Malaysia as a country. I learned so much about how the nature works, and also myself. It's kind of like I feel like I'm in my mother's home in Japan. I feel safe and I can rest. And so that's the feeling that I have. I feel just safe in Tigers Forest. And when Tigers Forests are not safe, I feel like I'm violated and I have to do something about it. So that's my personal reason to continue to use tigers to protect large, healthy forests in Taman Negara. I hope that satisfies Noah.
Thank you for that, Dr. Kai, and I hope Noah is happy with that answer. Okay, we will have another question by Andrew Pras, and his question is, given the massive habitat loss, will tigers be able to thrive again in the wild, or are they just doomed to be exhibit animals? So I will address this to Dr. Kai as well.
That's gonna be, yeah, I know I ask myself the same question too. This is my personal opinions, and I'm only going to speak about the Malayan tigers, not other such species, because I don't work there. Habitat loss is a major issue, and even in the protected area, not necessarily forests are safe. So will tigers thrive? Okay, the nature only allow us to predict future in probability. So will tigers thrive? Will Malayan tigers thrive? Yeah, sure, there is a possibility of that. But if we continue to lose the forest the way that Malaysia has lost in the recent past, the probability of tigers thriving in those increasingly fragmented forests is small, or it's going to be extremely expensive to protect those remaining tigers because no one can really see it. That means protection has to be everywhere. Is that okay?
Great response, Dr. Kai. Thank you for that. With respect to time, we will do one more question that has been pre-submitted, followed by questions given to us in the chat. So the next one is by Mark Go, who asks, how has their population been affected by the pandemic situation? Is it good or bad? Dr. Kai?
Okay. Once again, I can't speak for all the tiger population, so it's not a general consensus that what I know, but what I know of what happened to the Malayan tiger. So it was good that during the pandemic, when people were locked in the house, including loggers and poachers, protectors were not. So you all know that the police was out, but also Pahiritan's patrol team was out patrolling the forest, and all NGOs, community rangers were out patrolling, and NGO themselves were patrolling. So last 2 years of pandemic, and if you think about it, tigers are threatened by human activities. and those humans are locked into the house. So, you know, like intuitively, you think that that's a good thing for wildlife. And what we know in where we operate, not only, I mean, tiger population cannot suddenly bounce back in 2 years, right? But animals were very active during those time that the humans were inactive. And it's not only that people were locked in, but there was no commercial, there was no logging, there was no agriculture, there was no mining. Of course, this is really good. And the reforestation, we couldn't do a habitat restoration because it wasn't considered essential service, but protection was. And it was really good that Malaysian government considered wildlife protection, forest protection as part of the essential service. So we were able to continue that protection, and it was very good. It was very good for wildlife, and it was also good for the forest. It rained a lot during the pandemic, so.
Okay, thank you for that, Dr. Kai. So now we will move on to questions put into the chat. With the first one that we will address is by Daphne Ong, and she asks, has there been an increase in human-tiger conflict with increased deforestation? So I will address this to Dr. Kai as well.
I have to say my answer is going to be a guess, because that question probably needs to be addressed by Perhiritan Wildlife Department that oversees or manages the human-wildlife conflict, and we don't. I mean, so I don't know. I don't know really. But the general trend is the rarer the tigers are, the rarer the incidence of human-wildlife conflicts. It's not like 70s and 80s where tigers were really popping up everywhere and they had to be captured. Dozens of tigers had to be captured every year. And how often do we see that? We have fluke accident now and then, but tigers are really, really rare. And tigers it doesn't really need a deep internal forest void of human. They can actually survive right next to human settlement as long as they're not being poached. So to me, it is a miracle that we exist, people live right next to this beast, top predators, and we don't have many accidents in Malaysia, in country.
Okay, thank you for that, Dr. Kai. And we have one more question that we can address. We've got time for one more. So it's by Yok Moy. How do we protect tigers that roam in unprotected landscapes? So Dr. Kai as well, I'll address this to you.
Okay, let me tell you first, just because the forest is legally protected, it doesn't mean that the forest is really protected. I don't know if it makes sense. Just because it's a law doesn't mean that people follow the law, essentially. Yeah, so that's why even in a totally protected Taman Negara, tiger population plummeted, right? Because there have been poaching. But of course, it is tougher to protect area that does not have a legal, like conservation protected status, like Taman Negara or forest reserves. You can't simply go in and totally clear the forest, right? So first thing, and this is something that MICAT has been working on in the past decade or so, trying to get the state land forest to be gazetted as a protected areas. And it's not just MICAT, but all NGOs are working towards getting the state land forest to be gazetted either as a protection forest reserve or wildlife reserve. That would be the best. And then after getting a legal protection, we still have to protect them on the ground by patrolling. That would be the best way to go about it. But it's a really difficult things to do.
All right, and thank you so much for that, Dr. Kai. And with that, I'd like to thank our amazing presenters, Dr. Kai and Anand, for amazing presentations, and for responding to our questions. But before we end this session, we would love to hear your feedback as this Conservation Champions webinar series. We hope to push out more of such webinars for you in the future. And it would be great if we could get some feedback on how we can improve or make it a more engaging and insightful session. So just do scan the QR code and let us know what you think. And with that, I would like to call the webinar a close, and we'd like to call for everyone to show their support through their emotions, the reaction buttons, and let us thank our amazing presenters again, Dr. Kai and Anand, for this wonderful evening. Thank you very much. And we do hope to see you soon in our future installments of Conservation Champions.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.